Hey everybody, today I'm going to be working on my bike. Unfortunately, the other day I was riding. Luckily I didn't hit it with my tire, but I tagged something with my muffler. It loosened it up, blew the gasket, and I suspect it has bent it right here at the collar. I've been wanting to upgrade, but meanwhile I'm going to go ahead and see if I can repair this one for minimal cost. The first step is to remove the exhaust. Now a lot of times if you already have your motor mounted, you can't get an Allen wrench in here, but a pro tip is to grind one down so you can clear that, to fit it right on in there to get this out of there. Helps a lot. Now I've got my bolts out. Let's look at that. Ew. Gasket looks like a shot. I'll have to clean this up, of course, but I don't see any damage. Alright, I'm going to try a vise first. See if we can't just twist this back straight a little bit. Looks a little better. I've got it in at a different angle. Already looks straighter. We flipped her on around. Little goes a lot, little does a lot. That looks pretty straight right there. So after a little examination, I can see that it still is bent, but it's no longer bent out, flaring out away from it, but rather it is bent from when it got hit. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back in the vise and bend it in the opposite direction from which it would have took the impact to straighten these the rest of the way out. Alright, I've straightened it out about as much as I'm going to in the vise. I'm going to get all this gunk off of here. And really, I don't even think the factory did a very good job getting this ground down smooth. I can feel a lip right here. I'm going to go ahead and take a file to the whole thing and get it as smooth as possible and cut me some new gasket and get this thing back on there. Alright, we got some gasket material here. I'm just going to do a simple trace of this right here, trace out the holes and cut it on out of there. You can see we've got the whole thing outlined with the two exterior holes. I will do the interior hole with a small drill bit to match the same size. Alright, I've got a small drill bit here and a paddle bit there. I couldn't find a 3/4 hole saw bit, but that's the perfect size, so I think it'll be okay. We'll go ahead and try it anyway. If not, I've got plenty more if I gotta go dig out a hole saw bit. Found out this exhaust gasket material doesn't like to be drilled. It's gonna be okay. It's just a little frilly. I'll clean that up some more. But I think in the future, if I have to make more of these, I'm gonna use some punches and actually just punch them out with a hammer. Alright, the stuff cuts much more nicely than it drills. I ended up using tin snips instead of scissors as they were handy and they were sharp enough. I went ahead and threaded the bolts through the gasket one time to push any frills out. I'll go ahead and cut those off for a razor knife real quick. I've smoothed out this gasket as much as possible. We'll go ahead and line this bad boy back up on there and get her all tightened down. Okay, she's back on there. Just giving her the last couple snugs with my modified Allen wrench I told you all about. It helps get in them tight spots. There you go. And I've learned with these exhausts are just nice and tight now, or at least that's what you think. Even when it's nice and tight, give them a little more, because these motors vibrate a lot, and if it loosens up, it'll blow that gasket right on out of there. I don't go breaking the head or nothing, but alright, we're gonna go ahead and fire her up. I'm checking it right here. It looks good. I didn't feel any air coming out through there, so I'm gonna call this a success. I would wiggle that exhaust to make sure it's still tight, but it's very hot, and actually, yeah, it's good. That was a good repair. I'm ready to ride again.